Hey, what's up? I'm just putting a radiator in my old Avalanche here. On the way to Lime Rock last week with Connor's quarter midget, the radiator decided to pop and leave me sitting on the side of the road in limp mode, overheated. Good times. Well, I mean, if you think about it, I guess you can look at the positives in life, right? We drove all the way to Freedom with the big trailer and the Cobalt. Drove all the way home an hour and 15 minutes. And on the way home, I did notice it was a little bit warmer than it should have been. I was like, that's weird. I was like, maybe just pulling the trailer up and down these hills. Whatever. But then on the way to Lime Rock, pop! So, had to go pull the radiator out of the parts truck because this old Avalanche here has 246,000 miles on it. She burns a little bit of oil because she's got a bad valve seal that it's pretty much had since the first year I bought it. And now at this point, it pretty much leaks oil out of every crevice because it's an old Chevy, and that's just what they do. So, I had an opportunity to buy a parts truck last year, so I did because it had a lot less miles on it. And I was like, it's only a matter of time, right? And I need a transmission or engine or something. So, turns out the first thing we needed was a radiator. Speaking of overheating, the Cobalt is still doing cooling things. Not cooling things. When we passed the finish line at Freedom Friday, it was like 235, which is about 15 degrees warmer than it normally is. And then between Victory Lane and the trailer, we had a long Victory Lane, taking a lot of pictures and stuff. Driving it from Victory Lane over to the trailer, Dad already had the ramps down. When I pulled it onto the trailer and shut it off, steam came rolling off from under the hood. I looked over at the temp gauge, 250. So if I had to guess, I would say that we blew another fan fuse. Why? I don't know. That needs to be figured out. So we're gonna have to pull the race car in here and swap the radiator, not the radiator, the fan out, which I have another fan sitting here, so not a huge deal. We're gonna do that, and hopefully that'll fix the fuse popping issue. I'm assuming it's a fuse, that it blew the fuse. So I don't know if the fan's getting warm and blowing the fuse, and that's, one of the many things causing our cooling issues. I'm hoping it's the last thing. Because the plan as of right now is to go to Utica Rome Saturday. It's 500 to win. It is a fairly flat half-mile racetrack. So, not what we're used to. So we'll get the Cobalt in here after I'm done with this. Which I'm almost done with this. We'll get the Cobalt in here after that. And get the fan swapped out. Not the fan. Yes, the fan. Get the fan swapped out so that we can hopefully go to Utica Rome. That's the plan. So, let me finish this first, because this is the tow vehicle. This car, I've had this truck home now, I brought it home from North Carolina like 7 years ago, I think. And it was my daily driver and my tow vehicle. And then within the last couple years, I've had summer vehicles to drive. So it's kind of just been the tow vehicle all summer long, and then I drive it in the winter. At this point, it's been in New York for 7 or 8 years. It's starting to get kind of rusty, even though I did undercoat it. So it's kind of been my winter vehicle and my tow vehicle. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of coming to about time to replace it, but we're just gonna keep driving it for now. At some point, maybe I'll put the motor in it, or maybe I'll sell it the way it is at some point and use that motor for something else. You never know around here. Could be anything. But how about I finish this up and we get that Cobalt ready? All right, so here's where we're at. No blown fuse. That's good. Fan working. That's good. Pull the thermostat out. All the rubber looks to be in place. That's good. So we're thinking, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, that the water pump might be bad. So as you can see, we've got a little chunk of clear hose there. And we're going to fire this thing up and see if we have water flow. So, water flow is good. That is not the problem. So I guess now the next step would be to do a leak down test. So, I have never done a leak down test before. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm going to explain it to you the same way it was explained to me. So, I took all the spark plugs out. We've got a leak down tester here. Got a couple different gauges on it. Screws into the spark plug hole. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring number 1 up to top dead center. Basically put something over that hole, turn the engine over until you feel pressure pushing back up on you, and then down on the side, I'm not going to be able to show you, there's a little mark on the timing cover to the 11 o'clock-ish of the main pulley, the crank pulley, and then there's a little notch in the crank pulley. So when you line those up, that's top dead center, but only if it's on the compression stroke of number 1. Otherwise, it's top dead center on number 4. Okay, that's got that part, right? So we're going to find the compression stroke, bring that up, line it up, top dead center number 1, do that cylinder. 180 degrees from that will be number 3. 180 degrees should bring that mark back lined up. That will be number 4. 180 degrees will be number 2, because the firing order on an Ecotech is 1, 3, 4, 2. 1 is on your left, side with the pulleys, okay? That's what we're going to do. The way it was explained to me is you regulate this to 100. This side, whatever it reads, is your percentage of leak down. I guess it's that simple. We're going to find out here. You're going to find out with me. Just waiting for my father to get here so he can turn it over while I do this part and figure out what the compression stroke is. So let's learn together. Why can't this thing just stop giving me a hard time? That would be way easier. Way easier. Okay, just to show you the mark I'm talking about, this is a motor that's my spare motor sitting out on the floor. Right there. See a little line on the timing cover? And a little tiny nick out of the pulley? That is top dead center. Now, I didn't look down in the cylinder or check the compression stroke to see which one is top dead center, but it's either 1 or 4. They're technically both at the top when that is lined up. The question is which stroke it's on. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the little line lined up. So let's just say that this was TDC on number 1, 180 degrees from that. So if I was to pay attention to where this line was, if this line is over here on the pulley, that would either be top dead center on 2 or 3, depending on which stroke it's on. So that's what I mean when I talked about the line being lined up, then 180, then 180. Okay, I didn't video every cylinder. I'm just going to show you the bad one. Number 3 is showing 60%. 100 PSI here, showing 60 here. So 60% efficiency, let's call it. Not great. Don says we want to see 90 or above. What's that mean? Could be all kinds of things. Talk if you want.
Yeah, the other cylinders have 80 or 90 or 95. So we know the 3 cylinders are okay, acceptable. Number 2 is a little fuzzy, but 1 and 4 are good. So there's a problem when we isolated it to cylinder 3.
But it could be a multitude of things, really.
Yeah, could be broken ring. Could be a valve leaking, but we didn't hear a lot out of the intake, so.
I thought I heard a little bit here, but
not enough.
Hard to say where it could be coming from.
A 40% leak.
Yeah, 40% leak. It's not showing itself obviously where it's going.
You bring the engine to top dead center on the compression stroke for that cylinder, and then you put the leak tester.
Compression leak tester? Not compression tester, leak down tester.
On. The cylinder has to be at top dead center on the compression stroke for that cylinder, and that's how you do a leak down test.
So what do I do? Now, I don't know. I probably put it back together and we see if it blows up at Utica Rome. I don't really know what to do about it.
Pretty much, race it.
All right, so that's basically how you do a leak down. On cylinder 1 and 4, we had 95. Cylinder 3 was only 60, you saw that. Cylinder 2 was about 80, 85, somewhere in that range. The thing is, like, if you're not directly at top dead center on the cylinder on the compression stroke, when you put the air to it, it will actually push the piston down. We had it do that to us on cylinder 2 like 3 times. Eventually, we got to TDC, and Don actually held the breaker bar on the crank so it couldn't push it down. That's how we finally got our reading. So just some food for thought. Usually, if it's... So, like, if you had a valve, a bent valve, or a valve that wasn't seating well, you would be able to hear air either blowing out the exhaust or into the intake, depending on which valve was off. It will also do that if you're not at the right TDC, if you're not on the compression stroke, because you'd be on the exhaust stroke, so it would blow out the exhaust. But 40% is a fairly substantial air leak. I don't know where it's going, because I couldn't really hear it in the intake or in the exhaust. That plug was a little bit wet when I pulled it out, so there's a possibility that maybe, I thought my cracked ring was on 4, but maybe it's on 3, or maybe it's on them both. I don't know. But maybe it's blowing it down into the crank, or down into the engine, down into the oil pan down there. Because when I had my head on the intake, I could like kind of sort of sounded like I could hear some type of sound. So it's possible it's going that way. Or it's possible that, you know, there's a slight head gasket leak, and I guess it could be blowing it into the coolant system. But I didn't get any bubbling or anything in the coolant system, so I really, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. It could be a bad head gasket. Could be going past the piston rings because they could be wore out. This motor's got 2 seasons on it. It never had great compression after I built it, because I did build this motor. Like, I put new rod bearings and new piston rings in it, and then we shaved the head 20 thousandths and put a set of cams in it. That's all we did. It never had great compression. It did terrible on the dyno, but it's old reliable. It's the motor that was originally in this car the day I built it, and it went 2 seasons completely stock before we messed with it. Yeah, so it's been beat. Okay, I haven't been nice to it. And the last 5 races, we've gotten it really hot, like twice, and kind of hot twice. So yeah, I haven't been nice to it. So it could be a lot of things. Another thing is, after the hard wreck, we lost all the coolant in that wreck. And when I put it back together, I put straight water in it. And I didn't even think about the viscosity and that was going to change the thermodynamics. Don just said that straight water, you might be 15 degrees hotter than you would be with coolant. So, Friday Night of Freedom, I finished the race at about 2:35, about 15 degrees hotter than it would normally be. So, I'm hoping it's just a freak combination of things that's been causing it to get hot. They have a special fluid, combustion test fluid, that you can put into your system. And if you are getting combustion air in your cooling system, it will change color. So we're going to try that. My dad's going to pick some of that up tomorrow. It's blue. We're going to pour it in here. I still got the clear piece of tube in here. When he gets that, I'll show you. Hopefully it doesn't turn yellow, because that's what happens. If combustion air is leaking into the cooling system, it will turn yellow. If it does that, then we know we have a bad head gasket. If it does that, I probably can't go to Utica Rome. I don't think I'll have enough time to put a head gasket in it. Maybe. But if I put a head gasket in it, I'm going to reuse the head bolts, and that's a terrible idea, but I won't be able to get them fast enough probably. Tomorrow, we will check this combustion test fluid, and hopefully it stays blue. If it stays blue, we're going to drain it. We're going to put water back in it with some water wetter, hyper cool, I think it's called. Some stuff to make it run cooler than normal. I'm probably not going to put the thermostat back in it, and we're going to take it to Utica Rome and send it if it doesn't turn yellow. And hopefully that goes well. Yep. Cross them both, cross these, cross my legs. I don't know. We're hoping and praying. Okay, so this is combustion leak detector fluid. This is a combustion leak detector tool. I thought you just poured this stuff into the system, and because I only have water in there, that it would turn yellow. That's not how it works. You actually need a special tool. So Harbor Freight actually has this and this, not this brand, but they have this stuff and this stuff in the automotive section. This was like 31 bucks for the tool, and then their fluid is 8 bucks. This stuff was 10 bucks, but this came from AutoZone because I didn't know I needed this. But anyways, I had to watch a video, just like you guys do. And it says to put this on the radiator cap and put this stuff in it up to the fill line and then squeeze this bulb, and if the fluid turns yellow, well, then you've got a bad head gasket. You have combustion air into your cooling system. We don't have a radiator cap. We've got this fill jug. So I was like, is that gonna work? How is that gonna work? But then I remembered you've got this little steam port line coming across from the coolant jacket over there. So technically, it should still work. Even though we don't have a radiator cap, we've got that cap there. So start the car, let it run for a second, fill this thing up, give her a couple pumps. I guess we find out what happens. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. A little bit nervous. I'll pick that up later. Don't worry about it. Okay, so fill this up to the line. There's a little black line on here. Yep, you don't use much of it. Well, I got a bottle of that that's going to go bad because chances of me having to do this again anytime soon. It says put the metal ball up, which seems weird to me, but sure. Let's fire it up. Not working. Because when you squeeze this bulb, it should pull air from this up into there. We did it a couple times, but it ain't working. So I don't know. I'm thinking we gotta drain quite a bit of fluid out of this and try it again. Maybe? I don't know. It's not working. Alright. I took my air nozzle and I kind of blew some air up through here, and I think there was just from the fact that the little filter that's in here was kind of clogged up. We weren't getting any airflow. But I did lower the fluid level in here down a little bit, so now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, but there's bubbles coming through the filter in there now. So basically, we're pulling air out of the coolant system through that blue fluid. Still blue and has not turned yellow. So that's a good sign. Probably not a blown head gasket. Probably just got cylinder 3's probably got a broken piston ring. That's probably why it tested so horribly. So I've seen some guys on the internet blowing the bottom of this thing, and because it detects carbon dioxide, it turned yellow. Let's see if it works. So after I turned the phone off, I kept doing this for a second with a little squeeze bulb thing because it did take a second to turn yellow when we were testing it there. So I put more blue in it, put it back on here. I sat here for a minute or so with it running, pumping it, making sure that we tested it. And it never turned yellow. But what did happen is the fan just shut off while I was standing here. The fuse is still good. Apparently the fan gets warm and just shuts off. So thinking maybe that's the problem right there. So we're going to swap the fan out, put the cooling system back together, put some water back in here with some of this Hypercool, put some of that in there, and I guess we send it and see what happens. Yeah, I'm aware. Cylinder 3, not healthy. We're going to ignore that part, okay? We're just going to ignore the unhealthy cylinder 3, okay? Full send. That's what we're doing, for sure. All right, got the cooling system back together. New fan, last parts fan that I have left off the shelf. You can see everything moving down there, it's blowing. I wiggled a bunch of wires, it didn't shut off. We've got water back in it with a bottle of that Hypercool. Letting it run through the heat cycle here and see what happens, I guess. I really don't know what else to do, so hopefully it was just that fan doing its own thing, shutting off and turning on when it wanted to instead of running all the time. I don't know. But we're back together, so I guess the only thing left to do is prep tires if this doesn't get hot sitting here idling, which it's almost up to 150, looks like. It's going up slowly. I guess we're gonna find out. Alright, well, it just ran for like 10 or 15 minutes straight with me revving it, with me holding it at 2,000 RPMs, and now I can't even get it over 150 degrees. So I guess that's good. I'm going to take it as good. I'm going to give it the check mark and say we're good. So the only thing left to do before Saturday is put that cover back on the electronics and prep some tires. And then we load her up. And hope this motor keeps doing motor things for a couple more races. Yeah, that. We'll do that. We are locked and loaded, ready to head out to Utica Rome. Got the trailer hooked up to my tired old Chevy Avalanche. Got the Cobalt on the trailer with its tired cylinder 3. We're going to hope for the best. Got that fancy Cobalt crew gear on. These shirts will be available hopefully by next season for purchase if people want to buy Cobalt crew shirts. Maybe we'll have some options other than that. Kind of thinking about maybe some Build It Kingdom t-shirts. Hopefully going to be some options. We are working on that currently. Obviously, the crew has their shirts. We've got our shirts. They're pretty dope. You won't be able to see the back unless I set my phone down and show you here. Maybe I can balance my phone. Pretty dope, right? Brian Shoemaker for the win on that one. Shoey Graphics. All right, let's get on the road. checking out the flex pipe. It's coming apart up in here. She got a little bit louder during the feature. Anyways, you just watched the heat race. Not the best performance I've ever had. And it was no pin pull, so it was heads up, which means first in the first heat starts first in the feature, first in the second heat starts second in the feature, so on and so forth. So basically, where you finished in the first heat, the bottom row, where you finished in the second heat, top row. So fourth in the second heat, that puts us starting 8th for the feature. The track was fair. You could see in 3 and 4, there were some ruts and some pretty decent sized holes. You actually saw in that second section of video there, one of them holes swallowed up the 31C of Jeff Connolly. You see the red light start flashing right after that. He took a wild ride. Barrel rolled 4 times off turn 4 into the weeds. If you have a Flow Racing subscription, you can actually log on and watch the entire night of racing. And we put on a pretty good show. But yeah, starting 8th in the feature, and it goes pretty well. run. We were guessing on gearing and tire size, and as it worked out, we were literally hitting the rev limiter right at the end of the straightaway. So 7,600 RPM. I was actually feathering out of the throttle just a little bit to keep it from hitting the chip, so it wouldn't bog right before the corner. I could carry a little more speed, you know. So it worked out. Unfortunately, we didn't get the win. We came in second. Congratulations, Justin, on your win. But now we got to talk about the other part. I don't like doing this part. You know how I preach presentation, you know, making your car look like a race car, making it look good, you know, because you're representing the class and we want to be taken seriously and we want to be respected. You know, that's why I talk about behavior, you know, behaving yourself at the racetrack. My apologies to the payout lady. I doubt she'll see this, but I was pretty rude. And, you know, let me stop right there first and thank the Jacob Kimball Racing. He does have a YouTube channel. I'll try to link it down below so you can check out Jacob's videos. Jacob and his family, his mother, I believe, they went around and found sponsors weeks prior to this event to put together a good payout. It was $500 to win. It would appear that all of the money, except $50, was raised by the Kimball family. So thank you to you guys. Someone told me that Utica Rome's normal payout for 4-cylinders is $75 to win. That's disrespectful. I mean, I don't know if that's normally the case. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I can tell you when I went up to the pay window, the piece of paper that you signed for your payout said $500 for first and $50 for second. This is what I mean by, you guys, we need to represent the class. We want to be respected as race car drivers. It's not all your fault. I've met plenty of drivers and crew members that run bigger, more expensive race cars that absolutely hate this class and talk down about it openly, about how much they hate it. I don't think they understand, because it is a driver's class. It's not a beginner's class anymore. It's not. Yeah, it's a budget. You know, we try to budget for the class, but it's not. It's not this enduro class that maybe it was. It's come a long ways. These aren't junkyard cars anymore for the most part. These are purpose-built race cars. So it's unfortunate that you go to a track like that and then just feel straight up disrespected when you get to the payout window. It's not the first time it's happened. We've had it happen before. When Paradise was open, we finished second there one night. It was like $800 to win or something. We get to the payout window, and for second place, it was $125. And then you find out after the fact they had extra money, and the winner wound up getting $1,000 or $1,100 or something. It's just a slap in the face when that kind of stuff happens. It happened to us a couple years ago at Outlaw. It was $1,100 to win. We came in second. It was $300. $300 is decent money, but when it's $1,100 to win, that is a huge jump down to $300. Outlaw has gotten better since then. I'll give them credit for that. They have gotten better about paying down through the field. So I don't know. The tracks are learning. I think they're figuring out, you know, maybe that SCDRA is a little bit more serious. These are more serious race cars. Like I said, not enduro cars. So, you know, rumor has it is that they might be going to SCDRA next year at Utica Rome. So I hope they understand what they're getting into and maybe take a look at their pay scale and up a little bit. At least out here in the west side of New York, most of the tracks out this side, it's $250 to win. Down in Bradford, just over the border, I think it's $300 or $350 to win. So they understand that 4-cylinders are an actual racing class and that we put on a good show. It wasn't a wreck fest by any means. We put on a good show at Utica Rome. CJ LeVere and Justin ran side by side, back and forth before I caught up. They put on a great show. And then, you know, that last caution came out, which I needed, by the way. I was tired. I was working out there. All right, the carpal tunnel was barking. So I needed to catch up, but I also needed the break. You know, and then I got up there and, you know, the three of us ran clean all the way to the line. Even on Flow Racing, they talked about how we were racing clean, not touching each other. So we put on a good show. And I hope we gained some respect there from, you know, at least the people that run Utica Rome, the promoters and people that were there, officials and whatnot. You know, maybe some of the, you know, sportsman drivers that were there. Because the sportsman payout was, I think it was $2,500 to win, $1,300 for second, and then it broke down through the field like it should. I mean, so they understand how you're supposed to do it. They just apparently don't value the 4-cylinder class, and that's unfortunate. I hope our performance makes that better for the guys that run there normally during the year. If they get it back, they get the payout scale fixed, and it comes down to them putting on another money show, I would like to go. The track was a lot of fun to race. It was a racy track. It was very fast. It'd be nice if they got it figured out, and next year we're able to, have a decent pay scale and maybe put on some big shows. If they go SCDRA, I don't know who's taking over that CDRA Northeast, but they might be able to land a big race down there with some good payout. Like that one we went to at Outlaw that was $2,500 to win, and we came in second, and it was $1,200 for second. That's a pretty good payday. It's a big jump from $2,500 down to $1,200, but that's still a pretty good payday. I was not complaining about $1,200. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that that's how it worked out, but that's how it worked out. So, we're gonna put the Hoosiers on. We're gonna go to Genesee next week because it's $750 to win up there. That's my old home track, my old stomping grounds. We got a couple championships up there, but there's some fast cars there. So we're gonna try it, and then after that, we got to make some changes here. This motor hopefully makes it through next weekend, and then we're gonna have to do something here. Make some changes because we'd like to go down to Beckley for the Compact Clash and chase that $12,000 to win payday. I could use that money for sure. Hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, keep it creative and happy building.